Okay, so today we're going to talk about sleep trackers and sleep hygiene and fitness and recovery. So the reason, of course, that I'm interested in the topic recently is that I ordered an Oura ring.
Hmm.
Actually, I think yesterday I ordered it.
Oh,
I've been wearing these. I mean, I can't show you right now, but I'm wearing these sizing kit Aura rings because I was trying to see how comfortable they are. They actually are not very comfortable, but but you get used to everything, right? Humans get used to
but I
everything.
think in the beginning, I mean, we'll talk about it. But when you
Yeah.
try something new on your wrist or something, like it
Mm.
always needs a bit of adaptation, right? So,
Yeah, yeah. I mean, there's certain things that are definitely like true for fingers that are not true for wrists. Like if you get fat, like the ring, you can't change the size, and the wristband is not a problem.
true.
It's easy to use while you work out and so on. Anyway, so
Or
I wanted
the other
to.
way around, right? Like if you get very skinny, like then you tend to lose the rings. It's another
Yeah,
problem.
I mean both ways
Yeah.
really. Like and I had to, I mean we'll talk about it in a little bit, but I had to like also think about the potential implications of losing and gaining weight. So I wanted to pick a ring where I have a secondary option to wear it both on a bigger and a smaller finger.
Mm, yeah.
So yeah.
That's very
Um
scientific of you. Yeah.
yeah, I'll talk about that after. But we let's get started with our first topic. Basically, each of our reasons to buy a fitness and sleep tracker. So you want to start? I'm gonna blow my nose actually, so I'm gonna
For
mute myself.
sure. For sure. Yes, I went for Fitbit. I think it's called Sense Tree. It was because that's very important. Inspired Tree.
Oh,
Inspired Tree.
Inspire, yeah,
Yes,
that's right.
Fitbit
Yeah,
Inspired Tree. So it was. I did a long research, and the reason why I chose this one is because it was very lightweight and it was very much. It was cheap enough,
how
and
much is it?
99.
Oh yeah, that's
Yeah,
much cheaper than the Aura Ring and the all the other
yeah, it was pretty
comparables.
cheap,
So
and
yeah,
also it was like the battery to me is a problem. Like you already have like a phone to charge, a computer to charge, everything that you have to charge extra. It's just a pain.
yeah,
So
for sure.
like this was like lasting from reviews, lasting 10 days, even like after 1 or 2 years. So I was
Yeah,
like, yeah, if I have to change it every 2 years and it's $100, I guess it will be
yeah.
fine. So, but
I mean, the price is a big one for sure. Yeah,
yeah, and also like it had like it seemed to be very accurate. I checked a lot of reviews and it was like, okay, this is accurate enough on the steps and accurate enough on sleep. So that's number one reason, right? You want to track. I mean, at least for me was I want to keep track of things in an appropriate way. Although
like what are the things you want to keep track of? I think that's really
so
what.
there are, yeah,
Yeah.
multiple, and some I didn't know before I actually started using Fitbit because Fitbit gave me a lot of metrics. But the fun thing is, yes, you want to be accurate, but on the other hand, with these things, even if it's not super accurate, as long as it is consistent, the thing itself, the tracker itself, you will see an increase or a decrease, right? That's what matters. Like it's not the absolute number. Like think about steps.
Yeah, yeah, of course, of course. It's like weighing yourself. Like
Right.
if your scale sucks, doesn't matter as long as you know you're gaining or losing.
Right, exactly. So that's interesting because yes, you want to be accurate, but on the end of the day, like, so one thing that they do is they give you for each, not all, but most of the metrics, they tell you how you compare with other people in your age bracket, and they also tell you like if it's out of range or in range on your average. So like
All right,
after a
that's
while
cool.
that you use it,
Yeah.
which is very very useful. So the major things that I track are sleep, number one,
Hmm.
because I want to sleep more. And one thing that I noticed on my end was
Well, not only you want to sleep more, you want to sleep better, right? Because
exactly,
sleeping more is just you just need a watch.
exactly. So there are a lot of things into it, but like sleep is one, just major categories, right? Sleep, steps, so movement in general, and some health related metrics like heart rate related. So the variability of the heart rate and the actual heartbeat itself and how it changes. And that's very,
The
there's
pulse,
an
yeah.
interesting area about like the maximum heart rate. There's a lot of like discussion into whether like it's good for your health if you're age older, like if you're not super young but your max heart rate is also high,
Hmm.
because it tends to lower. So I don't have an
As you get
answer for
older,
that,
yeah.
but yeah, so that's very interesting. So I guess those are the major ones. What about you? What's
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's mainly sleep. I think the more, I mean, people that know us know that we're very much into tracking our entire life
Hmm.
and optimizing everything, which, has its own mental health implications, I guess, like to try to optimize everything. But regardless, if you're trying to optimize, I think it's become more and more clear that sleep is like one of the major things for
Hmm.
physical and mental health. I think, I mean, I don't know, but like almost everything I read in the last couple of years is like sleep is one of the major factors in any type of health risk, be it stroke and or a heart attack and or mental disorders. Like sleep is always like one of the top factors, right? I think like
Yeah,
you've probably seen the same
yeah, yeah.
thing. And I know I have sleep problems already for years. I mean, my sleep is a little bit complicated. Like I wake up a lot. I wake up very easily. Like any sound will make me wake up. I feel groggy a lot, even though I sleep much more than many of my friends. So that's another thing. But I wanted to know if my subjective experience is correct, right? Maybe I misjudge how much I sleep or
Mm.
how well I sleep. And I was considering a sleep lab, right? You can go to like a laboratory and have them study your sleep, which is probably like the gold standard, right? If an expert looks at you
Pretty
and you have
cool.
all these monitors on you,
Didn't
and
think
I'm still
about that
considering.
yet.
Yeah.
I might-
So you can actually do that, and I think at least in Germany, the health insurance pays for it
okay,
in some instances. And I'm still it's on my list of things to try. But I feel like I have some initial data if I get a sleep tracker of some sort. And yeah, recently this is kind of like what I've been thinking about. It's been on my list for a long time. I don't know why recently I got more interested in it. I think it's because of fitness and recovery. So the sleep tracking was on my mind for a long time, just because I know I have problems with my sleep, and I've been reading so much on like how sleep is important for mental health, and I've had mental health issues and just productivity and in general. Then, oh, actually, I know what it was. I watched a YouTube video of this guy.
okay.
I forgot his name, but he has a great YouTube channel. I think I might have sent it to you, and he said he got a. I think it was an Oura ring also,
Oh
but maybe it
yeah,
was.
then I remember
Yeah,
that video.
yeah. And what he did, and I thought it was really cool. He put on the tracker. I think it was the ring, but maybe it was a wristband also. It could be. And he didn't look at the results for 30 days. So he basically forbade himself to look at the results. He just wrote down how he felt and how productive he was. So every day he made like a little journal. He wrote down like, today I'm a productivity of 8, today I'm a productivity of 4, like I feel like shit, blah blah blah. And then at the end of the month, he looked at the sleep scores. He didn't look at them before, so he didn't influence his opinion about his own feeling, right?
Hmm.
And then he figured out basically like he had a perfect match of like when he was productive and feeling good and being in a good mood, and his sleep quality, which makes a ton of sense. And I mean, I think like most of us know this, right? If we sleep badly, we feel like shit.
Right.
That's just the way it is. And then there's the acute effect, like you feel like shit, but you're like, oh well, if I sleep tomorrow it's fine. But there's also long-term effects, right? Of people who sleep poorly over many years, they tend to get psychiatric diseases. They tend to get heart attacks earlier. They tend to live less, right?
True.
Um,
It's
and there's
it's a
all
number
these
one metric, right? In a way, like
100%,
if you want to
100%.
change your life, the number one metric. And the other interesting thing, to me at least,
And relationships, right? We learned that
right?
also.
That's I don't know, of the two, probably if you sleep
Yeah,
more, but because that's the other thing. It's true that the quality is important, but the more you sleep, the more it's likely that you end up sleeping good because it's you have more time to sleep well. There's also that, right? Like it's a
100%.
numbers
Yeah,
game. So like if you have 10 hours, but by the way, the major thing that I got from Fitbit was, yeah, like I was thinking I was staying in bed and sleeping for like, let's say, 8 hours. I went to bed at midnight, I
yeah,
woke up at
yeah,
8. Not the
yeah.
case. I'm like at least an hour, sometimes 50 minutes, 45 minutes is if it's a really good night, but 45 to an hour and a half in bed without sleeping every
Like
night,
in the beginning of the sleep, or like in the middle.
in everywhere. Like actually, I
Okay,
fell asleep I fell asleep very quickly, so
quickly.
in less than 10
Yeah,
minutes.
same. Yeah,
But then at night, it's like, and imperceptible. It's not that like I was like, oh, I
yeah,
woke
yeah,
up
yeah.
at,
You wake up and you don't remember.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
But
No, no,
that's
that's
that.
exactly the data I want. Also, like this is I don't actually know. I have a feeling, but I don't really know, and I want to know. And I've been using this free one, Sleep Cycle. You know it?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So it uses the microphone on your phone, but it's really unreliable because like once you move the phone, like
Yeah,
the microphone, the gain has to change to adapt and so on. And also like if you sleep with a partner or there's noise outside, like it's just
right.
gonna mess it up. And it doesn't match very well with my mood always. But yeah, so I wanted a better way.
There are trackers. There's one that's called, I think, Whoops,
Whoop, yeah,
yeah,
whoop, yeah.
Whoop. That's like supposed to be the best for sleep. But then I was like,
It's not what I heard, but let's
no,
talk about it after. I
okay,
think like yeah,
okay.
I have some opinions on this, but like let's compare the different devices a little later. Yeah,
Yeah. So in general, I would say sleep is one big one to
yeah,
track, and also the I. It's also true the other way around. What you were saying is like the more you're into tracking, the more they could affect your. Let's say every morning I used to check, like I still do, and I've been using it for like 6 months probably, and I still check every morning my main metrics. And it's true that they might influence the way I live my day, but
hmm,
it's not. It's not that I'm, 3 hours in the day, I'm like, oh, my HRV today was low. No, it's
yeah,
more like you feel good or bad in the moment when you check, when it's like, this like metric is not the way I want it. But it's
yeah,
actually true that, I mean, if they're good, you experience the difference during the day.
yeah,
Especially, and another thing that I was looking into, it was, I want to, for not forecast is a big word, but like I want to notice when things are going not right with my
mm,
body, right?
hmm,
And
hmm,
you see when you're about, like, at least for me, when I'm about to, there are other ways. Like every day I try to do exercise, and when I do, and I don't, and I see that like my body is reacting to something, and I'm like not in
yeah,
super, that's the first thing that goes out, like I'm
yeah,
not
yeah,
able to do my exercise. But
yeah,
also those metrics are interesting to check, right? Like my heart rate when I wake up, if
yeah,
I'm about to get sick, it's higher for some
yeah,
reason.
for sure.
In-
Yeah, no, that's cool. I think there's a lot to learn about. Yeah, also predictive. Like you're like, oh, I think something is up with my body. I'm not recovering well, so maybe let's take it easy for a day or two, and then maybe I won't
yeah.
get sick. I think that's nice. Also, one thing that I was considering doing, and maybe it's too much work, I don't know, but to experiment, to do some experiments with myself. Because once I have a device that actually tracks certain metrics that I'm interested in, like sleep quality and so on, I can run experiments with myself. Let's say
Hmm.
for 1 week I eat dinner at a certain time, and for another week I eat dinner at another time, and then I have a metric for like how does that affect my sleep, and or if I take certain supplements, if I work out, if I drink alcohol. And I think we all know the answer to that one already, but like it's
Yeah,
fun to try anyway. Maybe one drink is fine to have without affecting my sleep. I actually don't think so, because a lot of the reviews I've seen say like even the smallest amount
yeah.
of alcohol messes up your
That's
sleep,
my
which is
experience. By the way, my experience is, and again, it's when it happens, because you
yeah.
tend to drink way closer to bedtime, right?
Hmm,
But
hmm.
if you drink it in the
Yeah,
afternoon, probably is okay. Your body like gets rid of it.
yeah, you
But
can get rid of it
otherwise,
beforehand.
eating also, I was testing this because lately I've
Mm.
been trying to eat, you could say like a German, like very early, very
I'm
early
the
in the
opposite.
day,
I'm eating like a Spaniard these days. I
right?
always eat dinner at midnight again, which is actually really bad. But I have my personal reasons for because I'm out dancing, so like
Right.
I need to eat
Right.
something before going to bed.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because that's the lifestyle, right? You're dancing, and then you need,
It is a problem, and I don't know. The ring might make me not dance anymore, but who knows? We'll figure it
but
out.
you'll see that also exercise is good, so why not?
Yeah,
but
yeah,
but yeah, so that was one thing. I was trying, like in late afternoon, to have dinner late afternoon, and I could see already few days, maybe it was just chance, but I could see how the sleep improved, especially because in sleep, then if one is like, okay, what I have to track in sleep, yes, length is one, but as you said, quality, and quality is the amount of REM and deep sleep.
yeah,
Although
yeah,
there's another aspect, which is, at least what Fitbit says, which makes sense, is the more, if you have more deep sleep, let's say, than usual, that not necessarily mean that you're sleeping better. It might be that your body needs more time to
yeah, yeah,
recover, which
yeah,
might be that there's something else going on, right?
yeah,
So it's a
yeah,
balance. It's not really, oh, I have 6 hours of deep sleep. That's too much. It's like they say you should sleep 7 to 9 hours. That's the good range. Some people need more, need 8.5, 9. Some people need, it's enough 7. But if
yeah.
you actually sleep, not awake in bed for like more than 9 hours, something is up, because it's not. Especially, it's all compared to the. So what Fitbit says, which makes sense, is it gets your average and it tells you like you're within your range or out of your range. If you're out of your range in a good way, then there are positive changes happening, and then it shifts your average, your range. If you're out of your range, same like in the lower end, it's the same. But ultimately, it's good to track, and you have this like overview of like years of data potentially later on if you use it for so much.
Yeah. Yeah.
That tells you how you're doing, and if you, and one thing I noticed, for instance, is season play a huge role. Like the difference in season
Oh
between
yeah.
winter and
Yeah.
summer,
Yeah.
crazy
Yeah.
how my heart rate, the baseline heart rate, I don't know why, increases in winter and decreases in
Okay.
summer. Like
Interesting.
I
Interesting.
get less than 60 BPMs in summer, and I
Mhm.
get 65 in winter, which is crazy. Yeah.
That's crazy. Yeah, that is crazy. I didn't expect that, but yeah, I mean, makes
You'll
sense that
you'll
seasons
notice
would
a lot of
affect us.
things. Yeah.
I'm sure something will happen because I definitely feel different in the winter and in the summer. That's for sure. But yeah, does it affect heart rate variability? Because that seems to be like that's what I recently read. It's a big predictor of mood and so on.
That's the hardest I've been trying to trace, because we know like it heart rate variability. So to describe, let's see, because I tried to describe it many times. Let's see if I got it right. So heart rate variability, tell me if I'm right, is basically the variation of the time that happens between two heartbeats. So it could be like in some milliseconds, right? So it could be like 10 milliseconds, 20 milliseconds. And the more variation there is, so the more it changes the time, slightly changes because we're talking milliseconds between two heartbeats. The more relaxed you are, the more the body is not in a fight or flight state, but it's more relaxed. And so that's supposed to be related to better health on long run. Honestly, I've had so much hard time like trying to influence that, right? Because
Hmm.
the problem was that, like, yes, sleeping better definitely helps. I think the major thing that but I'm still testing. The major thing that makes it improve is meditation for me. And
Yeah,
of
yeah,
course, if I'm on holiday, my HRV is better for sure,
yeah, yeah,
because
yeah.
it's
Better
related to
means
stress.
higher.
Yes, better means
Yeah.
higher. So they say it's supposed to be
It's crazy, right? Because like intuitively, you would think that more regular heartbeat
right.
is better, but apparently it's not. So yeah.
Because but it makes sense on the other end if you explain it this way, that like if you're under stress, the body is reactive alert, and so
Mhm.
if it's an alert, everything is tight, and so also your
Yeah,
heartbeats.
yeah,
But then on
yeah,
the other
yeah,
end, like, so definitely like when I was on holiday, everything was like more relaxed, and then you tend to sleep better. So it's not
yeah,
just, I don't want to
yeah,
say it's the sun or it's sleep only, but
yeah, yeah.
meditation is one thing that seems to be like when I do it regularly, it seems to increase my heart. And one thing that,
So the HRV, it
yeah, the
increases
HRV,
HRV.
yes.
Yeah,
One thing that completely destroys my HRV is alcohol. Like if
yeah,
I
for sure.
sleep,
That's a
if
lot.
I
Yeah.
drink a beer before, like what in the evening,
Mm.
and my baseline HRV is pretty bad. It's like 30 something.
I don't actually know what's good or bad because I haven't worn the
They
device
say
yet.
50 up is okay. So
Okay,
mine is.
yeah, crazy.
And then you have
I
young
mean,
people that
yeah,
are like more than 100, right? So
yeah,
athletes are like on the 80,
yeah.
100 range.
Yeah, I'm very curious. Like, and I think maybe once I have it, we can compare and
For
be a
sure.
little
For
bit
sure.
competitive about it. I have a feeling that's what's gonna happen once we share the thing. You're like, fuck, I need to beat Tim.
Yeah.
Um, and I'm gonna meditate 3 hours today.
I actually, you know what I do in my parent, like my parents have Fitbit as well, and so we check the walking, the steps. It's the only public thing, shared
Yeah, yeah,
thing
yeah,
if you are
yeah,
connected, and
yeah.
so they most of the time, like unless I proactively try to beat them, like they walk more than I do, which is interesting.
Okay. Maybe you inadvertently tracking their sexual activities. Not sure you want to think about that. Uh,
Yeah. Oh, by the way, that's another topic. Like, if you keep your so since Fitbit, Aura, I guess that's the same, right? It
mm,
tracks your fitness, so it tracks your workouts and things, and it times it, right? There's a timestamp, so it tells you
yeah,
when.
yeah.
And so if you check somebody else's tracker and you see like, oh, at 2 a.m. you are like some activity going,
Yeah, yeah,
unless you,
yeah,
I have a couple of friends that actually take it off. Yeah, I'm
yeah.
like, whatever.
You know what? You know what? My girlfriend and I we were talking about yesterday or the other day, and this was actually a really cool idea. If someone like wants to do this, I think this is a super cool idea. Maybe you can do it with Aura. So we were thinking, kind of, I mean, uh, relationship tracking rings. It could
Okay.
be like a wedding ring, right? It could
Yeah.
be like your relationship tracking wedding ring, and it has a lot of advantages because you could be like, okay, your partner today isn't in a good mood. Like he's been very
It's a
stressed, or
good
she's been
idea.
very stressed. Like, yeah, I think, and then you can like see, oh, he's not, it's he or she is like in a bad mood, very stressed. So let's do something good for them or something. And I
Imagine
think,
on a larger
yeah,
scale. Like it's a very cool idea. Imagine on a larger scale, you're like you meet somebody and you instantly see it's like really two metrics. It's like, okay, how much they
yeah,
slept, and it could change the perspective you have and
totally,
the way
totally.
you
Yeah, I think this is super nice actually. And the good thing, if you're the business that sells these, you always sell two at a time.
right.
So yeah, I think this. I was thinking maybe you can hack the Aura Ring to do it. I don't think they have an API. Probably they seem like they wouldn't be the company to have an API, but maybe we can get one of our friends to hack it and then just access the data, and it's all it is a software update, right? Because the tracking is already there.
True.
So could
And
be
you could
interesting. I
have
think
like a
super cool.
little comparison that way. It's cool.
Yeah, I think, and then you can also have like goals for each other, and like a couple goals, like,
They
oh, try
do
to
have
get
an
your
API,
combined
yeah.
HRV.
They do have an
They do have
API.
an API.
Yeah,
Okay, cool.
interesting.
Maybe that's something to look into. I think this could be cool. Yeah. What else did I want to say? There's a couple of things I wanted to say as you talked, but then of course, because you get off track. Um, we talked about HRV. I didn't
Yeah,
actually want to get to HRV. It's sleep hygiene. Yeah. So I think like we want to talk about fitness and recovery and so on after, but I think sleep hygiene is super, super important. And maybe you want to talk a little bit about what your sleep hygiene standards
yeah,
are, what you can do better.
for sure.
One of the things you hold on. One of the things you mentioned, because that's the thought just came back. Sorry. What is his name? Brian Johnson. The
Yes.
what's his thing?
The
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 blueprint.
don't die movement. Yes.
Yeah. What is his project blueprint? Name project.
Blueprint protocol, I think. That's how it's called.
Yeah. So he's I mean he's crazy, right? Like I don't even know like some of the stuff he does. But he doesn't eat for what, 12 hours before going to bed or something
Yeah.
crazy? Like what is it? Is it
Yeah.
12?
No, probably not, but like at least eight. Eight before
I mean
bed, I
that's
think.
ridiculous.
Yeah.
Like so my problem of
And he
course is
goes
that
to
like
bed pretty early. That's the other point, right? Like
I know. Yeah, it's crazy. He eats only for me like there's some conflicting interests because I also want to gain weight right now. So I go to the gym a lot, so I want to gain muscle. So if I don't eat enough, I won't gain muscle, right? Anyway, that's we can talk about that
mm,
later. But another problem is I can't go to bed hungry. I find it so difficult. Maybe I can train myself, but so I go out dancing a lot, and I try not to go too late, even though the dancing scene is a little bit like when I say dancing, I mean like Latin dance, not
mhm.
like clubbing. So I don't drink alcohol or anything, but I do physical activity late at night, and some of these people like they dance until 4 or 5 a.m. I'll try to go home around midnight, but still, right?
Yeah.
So I get home and then I'm super hungry because I didn't eat since let's say 8 p.m. or something. And then I'm like, oh, should I eat something? Should I not eat something? Like I know I'm not gonna sleep well. So actually, one of the reasons I wanted the Oura Ring is to see does it really affect my sleep badly and how much, right? Maybe a snack is fine. That could be a thing, right? Maybe I can have a quick protein shake just for my muscles to regenerate overnight and then go to bed. Or maybe having a large meal doesn't make a difference. So I think this is super interesting.
Yeah, I mean, there is one thing with digestion, right? So probably
Yeah.
if you eat very little, it doesn't really affect any. But the feeling of hunger, you could. It also matters a lot. What's the
Mhm.
last thing you ate, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah.
But in a way, I don't know. For me, so sleep hygiene, there's a lot around it.
Mhm.
And yes, he has Brian Johnson has a lot of interesting and somewhat sometimes like crazy habits, but you could really take what works for you in the end, right? So like for me,
Yeah.
one thing that I got is actually I think it came to me, the hair purifier came to me before, and then I saw he was using it as I was like, okay, then I'm on the right side.
Because if Brian, what would Brian do?
I mean, if let's put it like this, he goes way beyond in terms of exaggeration
Yeah.
sometimes,
Yeah.
right? So if I'm already doing something and he does it, I'm like, okay, man, I'm not the only one, right? So,
Yeah. Yeah.
but
And
air,
also, you have the soothing sound of the air purifier.
yeah, I don't have it in my bedroom because
Okay.
I
Okay.
am I also
What
there's
does it? What does it purify your air from? Like, what does it do?
every so mainly so it reduces. I don't know with CO2 if it actually reduces it, but it
I
seems
doubt it.
like it. it does something with it because I'm not sure, but it goes down. So one of the main problems in your apartment or house is like if you keep your windows down closed, the CO2 level increases, right? And that's really bad. Like there are studies, fascinating studies on the fact of how it immediately affects your brain functions on the temporary side, right? Of course, if you then
That seems.
open,
I mean, if you're alone in your apartment, it seems. I don't know. It seems unlikely because like
depends
there's
on
a
the
lot of
room you
air.
are. Like we're talking like you're closing a room, like when you sleep, right? You're closing a room and your the CO2 level increase. So that's one thing that's why you need to open your windows, right? But then so but
I in the winter I never open my windows.
that's the thing,
It
like,
gets way too cold.
but that's the problem, right? So
Yeah.
I put in my studio because in the end it's where I spend most of my day awake working, and so
Mm.
I wanted something that decreased the CO2, and also you never know. That's they're one of those invisible things, right? You never know in your house what's going on in the air, right? And there are stories and of like you're in the wrong house and there's some sort of like leak of some gas or something, not gas that like makes the house like burn, but like or explode, but actually gas of these how do you call it? Like the odorless gases, like things that are just not good for your health but you don't know. It's like the lead thing, right? So
Lead? You mean like lead in the water?
yes, exactly.
Yeah.
So there are some things where you just want to get rid of them, so this removes. I
Yeah,
actually,
what
actually
does
have
it
to
remove?
check
Because
it.
like I
I'll
don't
tell you.
so I mean
I have it
from
here.
what I know about air purification and so on, I don't think there's many air purifiers that you can afford that will filter
Oh,
gases out of the air. I
oh,
think
so
most air
there is.
purifiers.
I tell you, I have it in front of me. So it's like PM1, PM2.5, and PM10. So the one is like the smallest, I think. PM10 is the biggest size of particles. So these are like pollution,
Yeah,
basically.
exactly. That's exactly what I was thinking. So the way I understand filters in general is that filters are membranes that let certain things through and certain things not, like a sieve, right?
Yeah,
Like you have your strainer for your pasta, whatever. The water goes through the holes, and the pasta doesn't, right? And I think this is just the same thing on a smaller scale. So you have tiny, tiny little holes, and gases will go through, but particles won't. So
right.
like you have the first one would be like larger particles like dust
Yeah.
and hairs and so on, right? Those are really large particles that can be filtered very easily. The next layer would be like bacteria and viruses, maybe. I don't think there's a filter that you can buy easily that will filter carbon dioxide or other
Okay,
inert
this one I
gases.
have, it filters carbon monoxide, CO. It
That
does.
seems that seems really. I mean, this is great if it does. I find it really hard to believe. I don't know why by what mechanism. I mean, you can send me the link. I'm
So it
curious.
has CO and CO2, and then and so
It
yeah,
filters CO and CO2.
yeah, and so
What?
it says the thing is like it's saying 400 to 1,000 ppm of CO2, right? As traditionally being considered good indoor CO2. However, new studies are showing the cognitive effect of CO2 happens even lower than we thought, with 15% decline at approximately
This is
945
the
ppm.
company's information.
Yes.
I mean, of course, they will say whatever to sell their
No, but this
product.
is just
Yeah.
saying like it's not saying what they do. It's saying like what's considered to be bad. Yeah, you're saying
No,
like they
no, no. I
want
get it. But they want to make a point for buying the
right.
device. So
Sure.
okay, let's. I mean, let's say this is correct. I find it hard to believe that they can actually filter out CO and CO2 because I think that's technologically difficult.
Maybe they just monitor, but he's saying like carbon monoxide. We're talking.
Okay, I mean, just send me the link. I
Yeah,
want to
I'll
take a
do.
look for sure.
So this is called
Yeah,
Mila, by the way, and I checked for a smart one because
yeah.
smart meaning the connected and synced, so you can check on your smartphone what's going on. Because one thing with the air purifier is like you set it up, you plug it in, it starts. You don't know what's going on. You don't know if
Yeah,
it's like removing, is it not removing?
yeah, yeah.
And so yeah, this was to go back to the discussion. So this was one of the aspect of I wanted to have like air is important when you sleep. So my house is not big, so I think it kind of like
Do you
purifies
think it
everything.
works? Like, I mean, does it affect your sleep? Do you have an idea? Did you test it?
Um, Hard to say. I mean, I did. I initially I tested in the room, but I have this thing against having um, technological things in where I sleep.
Okay.
There's this thing of like electromagnetic fields. I don't want to get too woo woo there, but like they say it's better to have a bed that's actually
The famous day. They say a lot of stuff. Okay.
exactly. No, but it's better to have like
You know,
a wooden
you know,
bed than a metal bed because of the electromagnetic fields that
I
inter.
mean, I mean, sure. I think, I mean,
Yeah,
obviously, yeah, I'm a little critical of some of these things.
yeah,
I, just the thing I want to point out is that any kind of light is electromagnetic radiation, right?
right.
So even your regular light bulb, even a candle is electromagnetic radiation, and
True.
also all the radio towers and TV towers and cell phones and so on, like they're everywhere, right? Like at every point in time, there's probably like 1,000 phone calls going through your
True,
room.
but there is
So
a there's a proximity problem, right? If you have a
of course,
purifier
yeah,
that's
of course, yeah,
literally
yeah.
next, that's why I'm not
But
getting those like bad.
I do think that the energy of the radiation of the just the regular electricity usage consumption of your air purifier is so much lower
Could be.
than I don't know, a radio tower or
Yeah, could be.
something.
Could be.
Just the pure
I
power
guess
output.
it's definitely irrational there.
Yeah.
Like I just don't want. I
I
keep
mean,
my
who
phone.
knows, right? Maybe in 10 years we'll find out that
Yeah,
any electronics
like with
are killing
Wi-Fi.
you.
The big thing about Wi-Fi. Do you need Wi-Fi? Wi-Fi waves are bad for you. Who knows? I mean, on a scale of how bad things are, probably not that bad. But there are things that are way worse. But yeah, so this was one thing, and
Hmm.
then light is yeah. You mentioned what light is very important. Like that really affects my sleep big time. So like I try to keep it as
Just the ambient light in the room,
yeah
like you
as
see,
dark as
try to
possible.
blacken up. Yeah, yeah.
As dark as possible. Noise, I mean, I live in a street where there's noise, but the windows are pretty solid. So I would say
Yeah.
it doesn't really affect much. But there's that weekly or bi weekly, even round of like, the, what do you call?
The garbage collectors.
Yes, those
Oh
are.
my god. Oh my god. Sorry. I need to interrupt because
Yeah, go
like I'm
ahead.
so frustrated. So I just moved into a new apartment here in Berlin, and my walls are super thin. I don't know. Really sucks. Like this is one of those things you don't really know when you check out the apartment. And my bedroom's window is towards the yard, so you'd think like, oh, okay, there's barely any noise. But in the backyard there's the bins, right, that get
Yeah.
collected, and we're the number one. Like our building is number one of the street, so
Okay.
the garbage collectors come here first at 6 a.m. every no, not every day, but like I think every Monday, every Wednesday, every Friday, or something like that.
Um,
And like I actually, even on the days where they don't come, like Sundays, I wake up at 6 because my body got used to being like shocked awake. Like I wake up freaking the fuck out because they're so loud. And I think sometimes I think they do it on purpose. Like they purposely do it super loudly, like bang the lids of the
they're
trash
like,
can.
we are awake, so everyone
Seriously,
has to.
so everyone else has to be awake. Like seriously, this is like so annoying, and I
Yeah.
think this is really fucking with my brain a little bit, and I don't know what to do about it because I mean I have earplugs, but I don't like wearing earplugs when I
Yeah.
sleep, so it's
Why?
really
Which
annoying. I don't know.
earplugs do you have, by the way? The because
I'm
I
yeah,
tried the silicone ones, and apparently they are really the best compared to any
yeah.
other.
So I have silicon ones. I use so there's a German brand called Oropax, which is basically it's wax.
Okay.
It's like it's
Mm.
cotton and wax. You can buy it at a store, but you can also make your own, right? Actually, I went um, to the ear doctor.
Hmm.
Well, I mean, what are they called? Like the
Yeah, your nose up.
ear, nose, throat, right? ENT. Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, so and I have some problems with my ear. I don't know. I have an infection or something. I didn't figure it out yet. But he said if I go because I went swimming and I got water in my ear and it started hurting, and he said to not use earplugs that you can buy because they're usually hard and then they create pressure when you put them in the ear. And he said like just to make your own with just cotton and olive oil, just like
Hmm.
put cotton, like compress it, put some olive oil, and then you put it in your ear. And oil, usually getting oil in your ear isn't so bad because it just flows out like the liquid in your ear does anyway.
Interesting.
So but this is a variant of it, so you can buy it, then you don't have to do it yourself. It's just wax and cotton, and it's like those balls, and they mold. They because it's wax, it gets softer as it warms up, so it gets really soft when it goes into your ear, and then it takes the shape of your eardrum and not your eardrum,
Mm.
your ear canal, I guess. And that's really nice. I just don't like having stuff in my ear. It's just not comfortable.
Yeah,
But it's
sure.
better than being awoken by these bastards.
Yeah, what are the solutions for that? Like definitely
Yeah.
like improving the window, but windows are very expensive to change.
Yeah.
That's
Also,
one
I
thing.
don't know if it will help so much because like I hear a lot of stuff also like from the
You're
stairwell.
saying
So I don't
okay.
know.
So
I
the
mean,
door, you
I'll
also have
explain.
to change the door.
Yeah, and the walls.
Change
I
your
just have to
apartment.
paint. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, but
Anyway, yeah.
that's one thing. I mean, I understand it's not like the end of the day, but if they come 3 times a week, that completely destroys your sleep pattern. I mean,
And
not
it's
destroys, but
always at 6 a.m.
you
Yeah.
know,
I
the
mean,
best way is to it probably go around it and be able to naturally wake up at that time, which is not the best.
I was thinking that, but Sunday night, I don't know. And also in general, so currently I go to bed at like 1 usually, like between midnight and 1. And even so, I try to even go home at 1 if I go out,
Mhm.
or at midnight when I go out, which is hard already. And then it's actually, I mean, I'm the first to leave most parties and stuff, which is it's good for your sleep, but it's bad for your relationships. So there's like a trade-off also, right? Because relationships are important, and
Yeah.
you don't always want to bail on everyone. So there's a trade-off
But
there, and I'm
people
still
have to
trying to figure it
change
out.
their habits. They have to like one thing I
It really sucks. Yeah, I wish.
lately
Yeah,
there's the same thing with alcohol, by the way. It's another topic, but
alcohol.
so
Yeah.
the thing is like lately I've been waking up earlier,
Mm,
way earlier, like
mm,
6 a.m., and it's incredible because I basically squeeze 2 days in one worth of like work or anything really. And there are some things that go along with it. One is like I tend to eat earlier because I wake up earlier, and which makes it so that I tend to stop eating earlier. And on the other end, and it doesn't really bother me. And on the other end, I of course have to go to bed way earlier than. But then again, the thing I was thinking lately is from 10 p.m. to midnight onwards, the amount of productivity is one aspect of life, of course, right? But the amount of productivity I have is basically zero, right? From 10 to
yeah.
12.
Yeah.
Plus, and this is one thing that Brian Johnson says. I'm not saying I'm following him closely, but still, like it's one thing. One additional aspect is like he says, I shut down myself, the 10 a.m., that 10 p.m. self, like the person that I am at 10 p.m. onwards, because wasn't taking any good decision for my life.
Mm.
And actually, I had a lot, he said, like I had a lot of mental, like emotional aspects and things that just weren't right. I didn't feel good after that time in the day, right?
On How Many Mother they say nothing good ever happens after 2 a.m. or something.
Right,
Yeah.
right. And we could say after 10 p.m. in a way.
Yeah.
So,
But
yes,
don't you think that just by getting up earlier and going to bed earlier, the window of unproductivity just switches to earlier also? Because like your body doesn't know the time of the day; it just knows your time. So won't it just shift anyway?
it would, I guess, but then it depends. It's a balance between productive and unproductive time, right? So, and I think you need to have a good balance, but you could still do what you can say consider unproductive time early in the morning, right? That's free
Yeah,
time
I'm
for
just
you.
thinking if you just get up earlier and go to bed earlier, then the time where you're useless isn't 10 p.m. to midnight, but 8 to 10 p.m. instead, and then nothing has changed. Just when it
The
happens.
problem is that you live around others, and their productive window is different from yours, so
Yeah.
it
Uh,
forces you to be more productive in a way, but also
and sunlight, I guess, right?
also does that.
Yeah,
But
especially in the winter, actually, you have to get up earlier to get more of the day because, like here, at
sure,
least the sun sets at 4
sure.
now, which is ridiculous.
Which affects your mood. There's another aspect with that, right? So
Yeah, and
but
also like once the sun is gone, like you don't want to do anything anymore. It's like for me, it's like the sun is gone. I'm like, okay, day's over. And if you live in the north of Europe, it's like, yeah, you're basically not doing anything after 4 p.m.
right, there's that, but then I don't know. There's something with being able to do the things you want to do, and not only the things that you have to do. And if your day it's directly in line, it's parallel with everybody else's day, and they want need things from you, or you
Yeah.
need. So that there's really
Okay,
not
so you
much.
want to create productive time for yourself that isn't kind of like occupied by others, and that's why you get up before them. Is that what you're saying?
For sure.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense because like I am fresher in the morning too. Like I used to say I'm an evening person because I don't like to get up early in the morning, but I'm definitely my brain is much more awake in the morning for sure. In the evening, like I try to work in the evening, like it's just I can't. Like I motivate myself for 15 minutes and then I'm like, okay, let's eat something or
Right, right.
let's watch some bullshit on YouTube.
Because you're tired
Yeah,
so there's that. And also the other point, if you think about it, you're really trading 2 hours for 4 hours because there's something we know that because of a circadian rhythm, because of sunlight, the earlier you go to bed, in a way, there's a limit, of course, but when the sun sets, um, like ideally it's better sleep. So the
yeah,
earlier, right? So
for
you
sure.
actually, those 2 extra hours of sleep give you 4 hours of work day, or not even
Yeah,
work
yeah,
day.
yeah, yeah.
You
I
could do it
agree.
on the weekends. So of like living, really, in a way.
Yeah, it's a weird thing because technically we all know that our circadian rhythm should be aligned with the sun, more or less, right? And somehow our society, especially our Western society and urbanized society, has gotten to a point that people want to get up way later than the sun rises and go to bed way later than the sun sets.
Yeah,
And like it used to be the case, I would assume at least that you work on a farm, you get up with your rooster that screams for you to get up, like my trash man, like my
yeah.
garbage collectors, which I guess are my roosters, right? Because they come at 6 a.m.
Yeah,
So maybe I should get up with them because like
yeah,
if you're on a farm, you have to get on working at 6 a.m. or whenever the sun rises, and then you go to bed at maybe at 8 p.m. or something, which in our urbanized society is not the case at all. And I wonder why it's shifted so much back. Like, I don't know how Italy is, but like if you go to Spain or something, like it's ridiculous. They eat dinner at like midnight or something, like
yeah.
with,
We are
with the kids, right? The
right.
kids are at the dinner table at
Yeah,
midnight. And I'm like,
not good.
that's crazy. Like,
But if you think about it, like when we were way younger, I mean, I don't know if in Germany it was the same, but we used to have like the main movie. Television was a big part of like
yeah,
in the evening, right? You were watching. I mean, at least I was watching movies, maybe with my family,
mm.
and TV movies were like the main movie, the one that like everybody was
It's
waiting
at
for. If
8:15 in
it
Germany.
was
Was at
like
8:15.
right, and then now it's, I don't even know. I think it's already 10 p.m. It keeps shifting, and the reason they do it is because they have more time to make you watch TV, right? Because
Yeah.
if the main movie is like at 10, you keep watching an advertisement, like everything really in TV until then, because that's a big thing. But
Also, I mean, the problem of I think, or the benefit of what I think they call it linear TV, right? Like the TV that it was just on whenever it was on.
yeah,
Like you have to be there at that time. Like it sets your rhythm, or actually
yeah,
it sets the rhythm for the entire society. And now it's like on demand, like
yeah,
Netflix and whatnot. So like you can just binge all night, and it's actually super unhealthy because like I know how how it works. Like they put a
yeah,
cliffhanger at the end of the episode. You're like, all right, I'm gonna watch the next episode, and
yeah.
you can. That's the problem.
Yeah.
It's actually bad. It's good for the company, but it's bad for everyone
And you
else.
do marathons now. So there's, yeah, and they also kick in the next, like Netflix does it, right? Like you're watching the episode and then it's like 10 seconds, 9 seconds, 8 seconds, and you get to the next. And
Yeah.
you're like, wait a second. Like, and you
Wait a
have to
second, I need to pee. And
proactively
then,
do
okay, I
something to
have to
stop
watch
it.
this entire episode now before I can go to the bathroom.
Man,
Yeah.
and it's,
It's
yeah.
really bad. Actually, you have to unsubscribe from all this shit and all this social media. Don't get me started on social
Yeah,
media, but like
that's
it's
another
yeah,
discussion. Yeah,
yeah, yeah,
but
exactly.
ultimately, so one thing, you're less close to nature. I like the example you gave of the farm, because
Yeah.
it's yeah, nature follows a rhythm, and we're getting off of that. And again, I don't want to be like too strict on these things, because yes, socializing is a big aspect, but if everybody were to wake up at 6 a.m. and then you could go to run with your friends at 7 a.m.,
Yeah, yeah.
what a different life. And
I wonder why it's not like that. It's so like where does it come from? Why is it shifting to the back? It's very strange to me.
I
I don't
think
know.
it's just, I don't want to make it conspiracy like, but I think it's, for a capitalist society, is better if you stay up until night, because you
Why?
tend to consume more,
But
because
couldn't they just shift it earlier? Like,
I
oh,
think,
because like then you would spend more time outside, right?
and
Maybe that's
also your decision fatigue plays a role also with compulsive shopping. I think
mm, mm.
the more awake and relaxed you are, the less you take stupid
Yeah,
commercial
yeah,
decisions. So I think there's that. Like in the evening, like, it's like with alcohol. The more you drink alcohol, the more you spend and don't even realize,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
So
Yeah.
there's a lot with that. I think it's been
There's some of that. I don't think it's all of it because I think
no.
this shift to the to later hours has been happening before there was the big media, but like who knows? I don't know.
But
Um,
there's that. Like if you're in a farm, you probably if there are certain I don't want to generalize, but there are certain jobs that make you be more considerate of how and where you spend your money,
yeah, yeah,
and because again you're closer to doing things, and when you're closer to doing things, it's like your DIY team, right? Like
yeah,
the part of you that's like you can make your own earplugs
yeah, yeah,
and not buy them. And this is like a muscle. The more you think
yeah,
this
for
way,
sure.
the more you do it. And
It's like, you know, it's a little off topic, but it's a little bit like cooking, right? Once you start not cooking, every time you have to cook, it feels like a chore. But once you get into it again, it's so easy to cook because like you're like in it and you're like, oh yeah, I'll just
yeah,
throw something together that's going to be great in 20 minutes or 30 minutes. But if you haven't, you know, if you just took a break for 3 months of cooking and because of whatever reason, starting to cook again feels like a big thing, right? And yeah, anyway, this is a
yeah,
little
it's
bit off
decision
topic.
fatigue in a way, right? Because the
Yeah,
more you get into the habit of doing something, we know this, right?
yeah.
Habit
Okay.
building is so
Yeah.
cool. Yeah,
Yeah. I think we needed to do another episode on
yeah,
like
yeah.
how society is shifting away from healthy things for our bodies, but like that's a different thing.
It's a cool idea.
Okay, so let's summarize a little bit
Yeah,
what are the important factors for sleep hygiene. So I'm going to summarize your points, right? So it's darkness and reducing ambient light. It's reducing noise. I think those are pretty obvious. I think, and we didn't say it directly, I think, but like bedtime and consistency, right? I think this is a big one for me because I noticed that the amount of hours or the number of hours or the amount of sleep I get isn't necessarily super correlated with how rested I feel, but when I go to bed is. So I
mm,
feel like if I go to bed at like let's say 11 or midnight and sleep for 6 hours, I am more rested than if I go to bed at 3 a.m. and sleep for 8 hours. So I think the 6 hours I get when I go to bed early are better than the 8 hours I get
yes.
when I go to bed late. So, and you
Same
know,
experience
yeah,
here.
yeah.
Yes.
So, and consistency I think is a big thing. So like I'm super sensitive to like things like jet lag, and also like if I have a weekend where I'm like at a party or like I go to a festival or something, I feel like even if I don't drink, I take several days to recover. Just to go back to my regular schedule and stuff. So that's pretty big. I guess eating and when you eat and what you eat. Although I haven't experienced too much because I try to go to bed hungry, but I just can't. It's something I need to figure
There's
out for
one
myself.
thing with that carbs, like
Yeah.
eating carbs. There's a reason why they say don't eat too much carbs in the evening, because I
Mm.
think, at least my experience, like carbs in the evening, they mess up with my especially the closer they are to bedtime, like the more I
I feel
feel.
though that if I eat carbs during the day, they make me sleepy because I get like a sugar crash after. I
But
don't
then
know.
it depends. If you eat only carbs, yes. But
Yeah,
if you eat like a balanced carbs and a bit of
yeah.
and then which kind of carbs, there's a lot there, right?
But for me, I think like I think for this, I think like for certain things like light and noise and consistency and some of these things are very I wouldn't say objective, but like very well proven to work for many people. However, I think like what you eat and so on, I think digestion is very individual
Yeah,
sometimes.
true.
Because like I noticed that I can't have salad super late because I think salad is just really hard to digest for me. Just raw food in general, I think it's just my body. It
Mm.
just takes more effort. I don't know, like, and I feel like I don't have good sleep. That's a feeling, right? I don't have a proper
There's
metric in
another
it. But yeah,
aspect I want to throw in, which is the stress level is very important with sleep. We know,
oh,
right?
for
The
sure.
more you have things in your mind,
And there's
and
meditation again.
yeah, and there's one thing that helped me at least is like prepare for the next day in the evening before you go to sleep. Like decide what are the main things you want to do the next day. It frees up my mind of like, oh, I have to do this, because it's like you do your like preparation work, and so first of all, the next day you start and you already know what I have to do. But more important than that, because it would take me like 15 minutes probably in the morning to do that, so it's not really that the problem, but is that I go to sleep knowing what I have to do the next day, and that gives me a better, like a sense of calm of like I'm taking care. Like I know what I don't have to
I get
spend
it.
the
Like
night
I think
thinking.
like there's a certain anxiety
Mm,
related with or related to uncertainty, right?
yeah.
But I I think you could do it another way, because I think what I'm doing recently is something else. But it, depends on what your life is like right now, because you have a very different life from mine right now.
Hmm.
So Matteo runs a company, and I currently just mainly work out and dance. So it's quite different. But I mean, I do have a lot of stuff to do, and I have a to-do list every day, and it's actually very long. And I'm actually stressing myself, maybe without any reason. Um, but what I do is like I have breakfast. So in the morning, I have my morning routine, and there's one thing that we could talk about also, which is like the first thing I do in the morning now, and this is from Andrew Huberman's podcast, is
Hmm.
to get up, brush my teeth, and go out for a walk,
Yeah.
even if it's super cold. And there's the cold exposure also, but like to get light into your eyes, like actually natural light. And I think it has been helpful. I think it has really saved me from some major seasonal depression last January when I started doing it, or
Mm.
last December, I don't know. And I think it's a nice habit to get into. Get your body moving. Don't look at your phone or electronics, and like just get out, get some fresh air, get some sunlight if there's sunlight. Right, it's difficult to find in Germany these days, but it's better that even through the clouds, it's better than staying inside. I think like it's been such a game changer for me. But what I do then is then I have breakfast, and then I do my to do list for the day, and this is just for me a way to like not think about it in the evening, because I feel like if I make my I mean, I put stuff on my calendar, which is nice because you get it out of
Mm.
your brain. But I don't. I try not to think too much about like all the stuff I have to do in the next day, because I'm like, okay, I have the time in the morning where I make my to list for the morning, and everything important is on the calendar anyway. And I try not to think about the next day at all.
Yeah, I mean, it's a way. It's like what works for you,
Yeah,
because then you're like, ultimately, you're saying there's gonna be a time for that, so I don't have to worry now. It's the same concept,
exactly. It's
right?
it's it's kind of a hack for your brain to
Yeah,
be more present in the moment, because
just
I
stop
mean,
thinking. Exactly, stop thinking
exactly.
about the future and like
Yeah, it's
focus
like
on.
it's exporting all the projections for the future to somewhere else, and whatever works for you. I think meditation, of course, is a general medicine for this kind of thing. Like you just like try to be present in the moment instead of thinking about the future and the past and so on.
Anticipating the future is a big topic, like the fact
Yeah,
of
anxiety is like,
you there's a time for everything, don't worry, like
yeah.
reminding yourself of that, I think reduces, at least for me, like 50% the level
Oh,
of stress and anxiety.
100%. I think
Mm.
like there's so many, and this is really a big thing that meditation has done for me. I mean, we should do definitely
Mm.
at least one episode about meditation, but there's a lot to say about meditation. And recently, I found like new layers and new levels to meditation, and I have to tell you because like
Okay.
I tried Sam Harris's Waking Up app, and
Hmm.
there's a whole different level of meditation that I discovered just now, which is different
Interesting.
from the regular meditation, in my opinion. But we'll talk about it at a different time. But what it really has taught me is more like you just have now. Literally, the future never comes. You only always have now. So what's the point of thinking about the future? And then it seems easier said than done, because you can say this. Like before I started meditating regularly and like really practicing this, it's just like feels like such bullshit, because you're like, sure, yeah, but I need to think about what I'm going to eat tomorrow, and I need
Mm.
to think about
Mm.
and where I'm going to stay, and like, and depending on your life circumstances, of course, you could be stressed out. And I'm not saying those problems don't exist, but like when you really practice meditation, you can really, like, certain things you can't change right now. Like there are just things that, whatever, maybe they're bad, maybe they're good, but you can't affect them right now.
Right.
So just chill the fuck out, right? Like just don't think about it, because you can't do anything. Thinking about it right now won't help you.
Plus there's also the add-on to that is most of the things you worry about will never materialize, and
Yeah,
so
yeah,
you're literally wasting your
yeah. But
mental.
even if they do, if you can't affect them now, just
Exactly. Even
just
if they
what are
do,
you gonna
there's
do?
gonna
Yeah,
be a time to. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
exactly.
But it's a habit again, a
Yeah.
wrong habit of like because there's a false sense of security of like I worried, I have a plan if it ever happens. Yes, but
Yeah, 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 same, same. It's like I'm like scared of flying, and I think about like, oh, I'm sitting on the plane. I'm like, okay, if the plane crashes now, what am I gonna do? I'm gonna run to the cockpit and steer the plane to safety or some shit like that. And of course, it's not
like
gonna
if
be the way.
if it ever happened, like you wouldn't do it anyway,
Of
right? Like
course I wouldn't, but like I feel like I don't know. I feel like my brain feels like it needs to prepare, and
yeah,
it's such bullshit. But like, I mean, that's really a different. I think there's a different episode there.
yeah,
I wanted to touch on. I think so. So let's quickly wrap up the
yeah,
hygiene factors. I wanted to touch on two more points. And it's getting quite long already. But so there's light, there's sound, there's bedtime, there's stress reduction,
yeah,
there's temperature, probably. I think there's probably an optimal temperature for everyone.
yeah. True.
Probably a little bit cooler than we think, than
Way
most of us
cooler
think.
than we think, I would say.
Yeah. But
Yes.
like, I think too cool is also not good.
Yeah.
Then there's like certain other things like dryness and so on. But like, I mean, there's a lot to, I think those are probably the big ones.
Dryness is a big one.
Yeah.
So besides the purifier, humidifier in
Yeah.
winter
I
probably
get
have
like really
some
dry
more.
eyes right now. Yeah. But it's something to work on. I think that's a problem. That's like I think there's a balance of the temperature and the dryness because cool air tends to be drier. Uh,
Yeah.
yeah. Anyway, so yeah, so this is the sleep hygiene factors. I think we covered the importance of sleep. I wanted to talk a little bit before we talk about the actual trackers, a little bit about fitness and recovery because one of the I think the two reasons that people get trackers are I think the main two reasons are sleep tracking and fitness tracking, right? And there's this third pillar, I guess, which is in between the two, which is recovery. And this is really the one I wanted to talk about because I don't care so much about like my steps and I mean calories burned is kind of interesting if you want to, if you want to
Hmm.
like gain weight or lose weight, I think this is super interesting. However, I just really wanted to know because I've been going to the gym a lot in the last couple of months and I actually right now I try to go 6 times a week, which is a lot. But you can overdo it, right? Like
Yeah.
the amount of or the number of times you go, but also like how much you work out and if you get enough rest. Because like let's say I go out to the gym every day, but if I also do a lot of other physical activity and never give my body time to rest, it's probably going to affect me. And I wanted to measure this because I have been noticing that my sleep has deteriorated because like you say like it's physical activity is good for sleep quality, which I'm sure it is better than nothing, but I think too much will also potentially deteriorate your sleep
Yeah, for
quality.
sure.
And then
Then
there's also just like your joints, your tendons, your muscles, whatever. Like it needs time to heal. And I think your cortisol levels and by so your cortisol levels in general, your hormone balance or homeostasis in your body will be will affect your recovery and like the healing of your joints, the growing of your muscles, your mental healing, also your mental recovery. um, and I think it's potentially you can measure it with these devices by metrics like heart rate variability because they are affected by cortisol levels. So uh, unless you have like a device that can actually measure your cortisol levels, which there's no
right.
easy measuring this right now, and there's companies that work on stuff like this where they can measure certain metabolites in your bloodstream non-invasively. But right now we're like kind of stuck with these rings and watches and so on. And heart rate variability seems to be like a super nice proxy for a lot of these things like stress level and so on. And the sleep quality also. I think the sleep quality will tell you about your recovery.
Yeah.
If your sleep quality is consistently good, probably you're recovering properly. If it's not, probably you're not. Probably you need more sleep. And HRV is the same, right? Heart rate
Yeah,
variability.
it's about like in
Yeah,
Fitbit, we have this thing of recovery, which is one very cool thing, which I
yeah,
don't look at too much, but very interesting because it's a combination of how much
yeah,
exercise you did
yeah,
and in like the previous days and your metrics, like how is your body reacting to that? Because it's not really an absolute value of like if you're trained and you run for 30 minutes every day, then that's not going to affect your average metrics because you're trained. If you're not, you run 30 minutes one day and then the day after, Fitbit will tell you, wait a second, you have to just rest because your body needs to adapt to that, right? So there's again, it goes back to like your metrics for yourself and how much you're used to things. But yes, it's good because it gives you a score and it tells you, so it gives you a suggestion of how much you should move and do exercise for that day, which is pretty cool. And
yeah,
it's a combination of like your stress level. I don't know how it actually calculates, probably with HRV, your sleep level, and your previous exercise.
Yeah, yeah,
These three things combined. Pretty
yeah.
cool.
So this is something I really cared about also recently, just because I've been noticing that I don't recover well. I think because like
Mm,
one is I stopped making progress in the gym, even though I feel like I eat enough and I work out a lot. But then I also noticed that a lot of my joints started hurting. Like I
mm,
feel like I have like five tendinitises at the same time. Like I have an
mm.
elbow problem, I have a shoulder problem, I have a knee problem, I have a back problem, and maybe that's a sign of my body. Maybe that's my body telling me, "Yo, dude, chill the fuck out." Because like I'm going to the gym every day, and then I go take a dance class every day, and then I go dance in the evening, and I'm
Yeah.
and I bike from place to place. So I'm literally, I want to say I'm like active 5-6 hours a day, like physically active, like intensely physically active, not just walking around. Um, and then I was sick a lot
You need a
recently.
fitness tracker.
Yeah, exactly. That was the point. Anyway, so that was actually my reason to get the Aura ring
Mhm.
now, and I ordered it. I want to say Friday, so 2 days ago. Today's Sunday,
Okay.
and I should get it on Tuesday. So I'm excited. And yeah, maybe we can go a little bit into the pros and cons of the different devices, because we both did our research. I think there's like
But I think I want to do that when you've tried yours,
yeah,
because there's an imbalance here between like I've been
yeah,
using
yeah,
it
of
for
course.
6 months, but
But
yes,
you can talk about the research you did. I
for
mean,
sure.
and I think there's a general already kind of uh, discussion to be had about like
Yeah,
ring versus
yeah.
watch versus wristband. So there's like, I think, what are the big ones? The Aura ring, and there's a bunch of like comparable rings, but I think the Aura ring is the only really mainstream one. I found some other ones, but
Yeah, Aura is one of the best.
yeah,
Like
yeah.
the Fitbit Aura and this Whoop thing.
Whoop
Uh,
and Apple Watch. I think Apple Watch
yeah,
is people say. I mean, I don't know. I mean,
Apple Watch has
there's other
some nice
watches.
features. I've
Yeah.
seen it closely enough.
I actually personally prefer not to have a screen on the device because of the other things we talked about. I don't want to be distracted by my electronics all the time.
Yeah.
Um,
Although honestly, the couple of points on that. Like I was looking into it before buying mine, and I found one company that unfortunately I don't remember the name anymore, but they went out of business. It was great because it was like a little token, little coin that you could like wear wherever you want it, really. So and what I was interested in, it was the ankle bracelet,
mhm.
because the thing is you don't look at it but you have it,
Yeah,
and in the ankle is like close enough to your body that a lot of the metrics are good, and you can do sport with it, and it was great, and the battery was lasting months or a month at least, so it was like perfect this, but then it
yeah,
was out
yeah,
of business.
yeah,
And so I went for the Fitbit because Aura is nice, is considered one of the best, but I didn't really want a ring,
yeah.
so that was the main point,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, I get it. Yeah, I agree with that. I think the ring is, at least in the beginning, it's really rather uncomfortable. I don't actually like the feeling of having rings on my fingers, but I think you get used to
You
everything.
get it. I felt uncomfortable with the Fitbit for like the first month,
Yeah, I mean, I'm
and then
still I'm still uncomfortable. I'm wearing the trial rings right now because they send you like a sizing kit, and I'm wearing them. I'm trying to wear them to get used to them, and it is not super comfortable. Like also, especially for certain things like biking and lifting weights in the gym is really uncomfortable. It doesn't,
mm,
but I hope I get used to it. But the ring is supposed to be, or the finger is supposed to be the best place to actually measure these things, because I guess because the blood vessels are closest to the skin or something. The wrist is supposed to be not so good, also because uh, it's easier for the watch and so on to move around, and I think that gives some inconsistency. And from what I've read,
yeah,
the ring matches, at least for sleep tracking, the ring actually matches the professional data the best. That's what I've read. I think, and then I think that's probably because of the position of the
yeah.
ring on your body, because the wrist seems to be not so reliable as the finger. And yeah, I guess
There
those
is
are the.
the one thing. There's this website called Wirecutter, which by the way was bought by New York Times, I think. And they what they do is they do a lot of like very in depth reviews of like technological gadgets, let's say, and they did. I don't remember exactly where the Aura Ring was, but they did a lot of studies and comparing the trackers. They basically buy the trackers and they test them.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
I know ultimately I was convinced by them on
yeah,
getting Fitbit because it was like I was looking into, as I said in the beginning, like long lasting battery, the longest possible,
Yeah, the Fitbit seems to win there. I mean, the Fitbit Inspire particularly, because other Fitbits
Yeah,
I think are just
yeah,
like 1, 2, 3 days. The Aura is supposedly 7 days. I think I don't know if it's
yeah.
true yet.
But then
Um,
there's a point with switching off Bluetooth. I noticed that since they are connected to your phone by Bluetooth, and that's where they send the data.
yeah.
If you switch off Bluetooth on your phone, they
Uh-huh.
don't really send too much data. They don't actually send the data, although the Fitbit Bluetooth is always on, and so I
But does
think
it does it store it locally also? Yeah, it
it
must, right?
does
Yeah.
for I don't know how much time, but it does. Like even if you every day anyway, I turn on Bluetooth for some reason, and so it
And it
sends
syncs
it.
pretty quickly.
Yeah,
Okay.
but then the point also there is a screen, but it's not too big, and I didn't want to watch on the other end.
Hmm.
So it was a good compromise, I guess.
Yeah.
That's
I mean, the Fitbit, I think that would have been the other one I had considered, but I mean, it's much cheaper, right? You paid less than $100, and I paid
mhm.
almost 400. I want to say. Uh, Actually, no, there was an offer, so it was a little bit over 300. But I just really wanted the perfect baseline
Yeah.
measurements, so I wanted to trust the numbers. That's really that was my reason. I think
Mhm.
otherwise I would have gotten a Fitbit probably. Apple Watch is supposed to be great, and the Whoop, like people really like the Whoop. But then I read the different articles saying that the the sleep metrics, like especially like measuring the REM and the deep sleep and so on, were not super reliable on the Whoop. I don't know about the Fitbit anymore, but I think it just in generally, like they said, that the Aura is the most.
Whoop is very good for HRV. Apparently, it gives you a lot of detail about your HRV.
Okay.
That
Yeah, I think like software and like how they present the data is one thing. I just wanted the actual measurements to
right,
be
right.
correct, right? So because, and I guess I trusted the ring the most, but I don't know. Maybe I guess we'll find out. But
Yeah. Well, we need to do an episode
yeah,
on
for sure, for sure.
comparing the data. Even just compare, it will be fun. I think.
We should, maybe we should send each other our devices and then switch and then wear both.
Yeah,
Actually,
that's
there are some people on YouTube that do that. They wear both and then they compare. And actually, I think I watched one of them with either it was Aura versus Fitbit or Aura versus Whoop,
mhm.
and the Aura won. I think people prefer the feeling of the wristband usually, but I think on accuracy, I think the ring tends to win. That's what I
Could be. It makes
read. Yeah.
sense. It makes sense. Yeah.
Anyway, yeah.
It's
Any,
good.
any other comment you had before
No,
we wrap this one up?
I think we can wrap it up.